Hello guys and welcome back to Easthaven County, Massachusetts. And it's good to be back today because we've got quite a nice addition to implement, as we'll be building the very first bus networks here in the county. This also means we'll be working on downtown Fort John, as I imagine that the main bus hub of the county is going to be located somewhere down here, as it's going to be the biggest city in the county and probably located right next to the custom central train station we have here. Because besides the commuter rail services that service all the major cities here, we don't have any other public transportation, so hopefully this is a nice addition. And I don't want to restrict the bus service to Fort John. I actually want to try and connect up the entire county. We'll see how far we get today. But ideally, we want good connection and coverage between Fort John and the city of West Point to the north of it and the city of Chowder Bay to the east of it. And then maybe some rural, more like infrequent lines to kind of cover the rural like farmlands up here in Cape Autumn and potentially cover the more like holiday tourist vibe areas down here in Cape Rose. Oh, and of course we can't forget getting a good connection to Queen's Cape. Since we have massive education institutions out here, we better make sure that college students can actually get here using some public transportation. Currently it's only connected by car, of course. So quite a bit on the plate today. I think we should just get going, and the first big one is obviously placing the bus depot. Alright, so the bus depot is 150k, which is quite a bit. It's 1/4 of our current capital reserves, but we are making good money, so hopefully we'll be just fine. It's also a pretty sizable asset, and then it's not a signature building, but it's relatively unique in its looks, so I kind of want to place it here in Fort John. And I think the easiest solution would just be to kind of place it in this general area here, because this is where we'll have our massive industry and container port. But there's also this very tight, awkward space here, which might just be a more fun, better fit altogether. There's quite a bit of terraforming that needs to be done, but I think we might actually be able to squeeze it in. So I think I'm just gonna give that a try at first, because I wouldn't mind like having a bit of an interesting location for this asset, is what I am trying to say. So I'm just gonna flatten the terrain here, and then we are gonna enable Anarchy. Otherwise the placement is gonna be an issue, I think. I'm gonna bring it back to the highway here and just kind of align it like that and place it. And obviously I kind of misjudged the amount of terraforming that needs to be done here, so we're just gonna do a bit more. And actually we'll need to go into road services and convert it to a bridge segment. There we go, to kind of flatten that out. And then I think for this segment here we probably just need to actually key this, so that we can once again terraform freely. So if we key that as well, we pretty much have a fully flat surface, almost at least, for the bus depot. And I kind of like this location. It always takes a little longer to work your infrastructure and buildings and services into these awkward spaces, but the final result is often also worth it. We of course need some kind of road connection here, so we might just go for the standard alley. I think we'll just start with that at least, and then we'll see if I need some parking for the employees and whatnot placed in here. But we're gonna go for something a little standard just to start with. So by default it allows for up to 25 buses, and some of these will be in maintenance usually, so it's probably around 20 or 22 that we're gonna see on our bus lines at any given time. And we can of course upgrade with extra garages that allow for 10 additional vehicles. And this is really where the new upgrade system comes in handy, where we can, without Anarchy, we can place it anywhere within this defined circle or square, whatever you call this. But with Anarchy, we can actually place this wherever we want. So we could easily fit that across the street, or alternatively try and make this a really complex area and place it over here. And as I say that, I don't know if you guys could hear that in my voice, but it's kind of an interesting idea. I'm just gonna try something here. Of course I am. So I'm gonna turn this into a key segment and this into a key segment. And then we're gonna try and elevate this segment and elevate this segment. So these are bridge segments. And then I'm just gonna try this and see how that actually looks. It might look a little too crazy, but we'll see. The US does have some really crazy highway infrastructure built back in the 60s when the US had money for infrastructure. So I don't think it's too far-fetched that we would have some really complex highway stuff. Let's see if we can squeeze this bad boy in here. Yoink. And I mean, that is one interesting look, especially if we use the surface tool to kind of bring these two segments together, right? If we bring this up here, let's just get this fully aligned like that. We'll bring that up there. We get the 90-degree angle. Yoink. And we could add our own decals even. Then, I mean, I guess technically this is actually connected by now. Let's just see, where are the pillars for this overpass? They are perfect. So we can actually just grab the alley here and expand that as like a straight segment to around here maybe. And then if I can just add an additional surface node around here and just that didn't. Oh, it did work, but it isn't going above. That's a bit of a bummer. It looks all right, I guess. Actually, we might just make like a small segment here, like for turning or whatever. Something like this. Let's get this connected up. Otherwise, we can't really get much use of it. So power. I think I want some traditional power lines. And since this is like a major avenue, then we're gonna go with the 10 meters elevation, because as you guys can see, that gives us a bigger tower. And actually that can't cross underneath here. So we're just gonna go for like a regular structure here. And just move underneath the massive highway infrastructure we have going. We'll just continue that for a little while because it looks nice. It has very, very nice aesthetics, and I think this means that it's connected. Water should be a little more simple. I guess that might actually be connected. Do I just need to hit play? Yeah. And since we are trying to make this a little nice, I think we should do a custom parking lot. I don't do a lot of these compared to like the other amount of detailing I usually do. But I think since we do have a spot here, which I really think is fitting, we're gonna do a custom one. Now I kind of want to break this one up a bit by adding in an additional node here so that I can just ensure that this is an elevated segment, but that it turns into just being keyed on this side. So we'll do something like that, which I think looks really nice. It looks a little more purpose-built to the actual landscape, the actual environment. And then I added a key to this side here so that if we once again move into flatten our terrain, we can do that and get a decent looking parking lot placed in here. I still see people adding non-functional parking lots, just adding the decals and car props. And if that's what you want, that's of course completely fine. But I just want to remind people that there are actual functional parking lots you can use to create fully custom parking lots that will see vehicle use, which is what I want. So I'll move into domes parking. The mod has been updated, so it's got its own menu, and then all of these are actually functional, which is very, very nice. We've even got like covered versions and whatnot, which is pretty sweet. Now, when you place these, something you can do is you can enable the show marker here, and then you can see the road connection that is going to be necessary for this parking lot to actually function. But since you can use invisible roads to provide this connection, you can start by pretty much just placing them freely, and then you can add in the roads afterwards. So that's pretty much gonna be our approach, at least. I don't want to move all the way into the key here. I kind of want a stretch of grass, maybe with some bushes and like a tiny bit of landscaping. But I want to move pretty close and just place these pretty simply. You can even use the like line tool to place these, which would make it a little more accurate, but we can always kind of adjust them, you know, so it's not as important to me. And we'll just add some here as well. And then what we can do is we can just slightly curve and then maybe overlap these a bit and add a slight curvature as well, just by turning them a bit, overlapping so that there's not too much clipping. And we'll do the same here, slightly curve. That was a bit much, maybe something like this. And I think that is fine as far as the like size of the parking lot goes. All right, so let's just create. Actually, maybe we should have an entrance here. That's probably fitting. And then we'll have an entrance here as well. And then we can fill out the center the way we want. We've got these doubles that are easy to use. All right, a bit of a funky design, but I think we're gonna go with something like this for starters, at least. Now for the actual roads, we move into our pathways and grab this invisible road path. And I grabbed this one so that I know that we could go for the one-way one as well. That's gonna allow us to have a slimmer path, but we're just gonna go with this one. I think that's fine. It's gonna allow for pedestrians to walk here as well, which is also pretty important. And then we have markers enabled, and then you guys can see that I can relatively easily just make sure that all of these are connected to these roads here. Just gonna move all the way through, make sure we get a 90-degree connection to the road there. Make sure that all these spaces are covered. And I may just have to kind of slim down parts of the segment there in the middle, as you guys can see. Otherwise, we might have some cars kind of driving into parked cars, which we obviously don't want. So it looks very messy now, but what I think I'm just going to do is I'm going to remove this one. And then I'll grab this, move that a bit north. And then we'll grab the single double here and just add that into the mix like that. And hopefully, if we move into our pathway menu again, things look pretty good. So now we just need some surfaces, of course. And I'm just going to grab one of the pavement surfaces. We can enable markers now. And the cool thing is that we can actually snap to these markers here, which obviously makes just getting this aligned much easier. It also snaps to the actual outline of the functional parking lots. So it's really it takes a bit of time, but it's a very pleasant approach creating these custom parking lots. And then we can move in afterwards and just kind of do a bit of adjustment so that it looks a little nicer, because the snapping here isn't exactly perfect. It's pretty good, but it's not perfect. Like here, I'll just snap there and add in an additional node. That's probably easier. Something like this. And let's get that extra 90-degree node. There we go. Let's just have a look. I mean, it's pretty nice. It's a lot better than just placing one of the standard ones. Even though I also do that at times when you've got the space that kind of fits that a little better. Let's just get that adjustment there. And I even think we can squeeze in at least one additional one of these sideways parking lots here. Can we squeeze in two even? I think we can. Let's just try and maximize this space a bit. There you go. And since we are being cheeky, let's just round out with a few additional spots over here. Sort of a few tight spots within this parking lot, but I mean, that's pretty realistic, right? When you have space like that to be utilized. You will have a few spots that are a little harder to back out from than others, but shouldn't be impossible. I'm gonna replace a few of the spaces with some electric parking, not because I think Easthaven County is like at the forefront of electrification as far as electric vehicles goes, but it, you know, they have a bit of additional details. So it's just nice getting something in that looks a little more special. And then maybe, we should probably have some disabled parking as well. But adding one is like, that's a little insulting maybe. So let's just delete this segment here. And we'll just add in a bit of parking, disabled parking here. Disabled friendly parking, however you say. And we'll just try to get this perfectly aligned all the way over here so that we can actually fit in maybe an additional one of these. I'm gonna hold on the detailing for just a second because we've got a few empty spaces where I think we can squeeze in a bit of functional industry maybe, or some offices. So let's just see, this one is not too deep, so we're gonna grab find it. I'll go to office, bring out this menu, we'll go for free and low density, and I'm just gonna check if there's something that would kind of make sense to try and see if I can squeeze in here. Something that could look like it's kind of part of the complex, not quite, but you know. Can I actually get something even bigger in here? Nah. Let's just go for what I had actually found, this version here. So if I get that placed and we just try and make it look like these two boyos here are somewhat integrated. Like this, we'll grab a bit of Bulldozer, get rid of the fence here. Very nice. And we had an empty space over here where I think maybe some sort of warehousey industrial building of some sort might be nice, might make sense, like an additional little repair shop for maintenance of some of the buses maybe. Something like that at least. I think I'll just add this in here. We'll once again get rid of this back fence here and maybe this pole. And then we're ready to finish off with some pretty light, simple detailing. So it's just gonna be a mixture of decals and some trees and bushes. So I'll grab some of these stain decals by Sully that I have used a million times before, it feels like now at least. But I keep coming back to these ones because they're not too crazy, but they of course do help create that slightly worn down old look. So we'll just add in a bunch of them. We have some oil spill decals. These are relatively new, but they're just so cool. They work so well in just adding in that extra bit of detail here and there. And let's see, we've got some of these we can utilize. They're a little darker, so I have to be more careful with how I actually use and place these. We have maybe some trash stuff down here, so I can go a little heavier. Something like this. And yeah, oh, we've got these tire marks as well, and they are obviously perfect for what we're looking for. It's not that I imagine people do burnouts here, but I mean, these buses are pretty heavy vehicles, right? So yeah, I'm trying to justify it here. I don't know how many tire marks you'd see at a bus depot, but but there are obviously quite a few at this particular bus depot. So yeah, that's it's just how it is, I guess. I just think it adds a lot of just adds a lot of detail. They're relatively easy to place, so why not? But I guess this we are gonna add some loops in here, right? We need like a midnight club to do like burnouts and donuts and stuff here in the parking lot on weekend nights until the cops come and try and disperse the whole thing. So we'll see some Toyota Supras and some Nissan Skylines, and if you don't know anything about cars, then this rambling is just not gonna work out for you, and I apologize. We'll add in the last bits of detailing here, and I think that's it for the decals at least. And that's a little too much as far as repetition goes, but yeah. And then the final bit, which you guys know I enjoy each and every time. I'll never grow bored of just adding some bushes and trees, and I considered like having this be well manicured grass, but nah. I think given the general condition of the roads here, it's probably more fitting that it's basically just some overgrown stuff, like lots of bushes and trees and whatnot. And I think that fits the theme of Easthaven County relatively well as well. It's a place where when possible, nature is just kind of led to its own, I want to say demise, but that sounds a little dramatic. Anyways, I'm rambling as I'm detailing, but I am detailing, so I'm doing something right. And we now have a bus depot, which I guess could technically be part of low plane. Maybe it's just me being lazy, not wanting to designate a separate district for this, but I think for now it's a part of low plane. I mean, that area had to be a little bigger anyways, so yeah, very interesting area here. So much you know, in terms of like highway infrastructure. We've got some railways going on here as well. I really enjoy this part of the city. And before we move on, let's just take a little walk in this area. It looks really cool with all these overpasses here. And this is where the buses will generally enter. I hope that there's... Oh, whoa. We're almost getting rammed here. First vehicle is making its way through here, and I really like the look of this area. As you can see, the terraforming is a little wonky. We could potentially straighten that out, but I mean, it doesn't matter all that much, does it? And this is where we have the car meets, all the tuned cars doing donuts, doing those nights, and then when the cops come to disperse, they get onto the quote-unquote expressway as quick as possible. And yeah, we're just walking over everything now. Let's just get a move on here. Moving underneath this pass here, we have some additional maintenance facilities. And we've got some graffiti and some good stuff placed in here. Some additional garages over here for extra capacity. Once again, yeah, terraforming a little wonky as we get up close, but we're not gonna get up close, so it doesn't really matter. Alright, let's continue with the main bus hub here in downtown Fort John, and I'm thinking we're gonna build it immediately south of the main train station, so that it looks like one big purpose-built, continuously expanded transport hub, and we'll see, you know, trains and buses here and lots of activity. I hope, at least. There are a couple of approaches we can take to creating this bus hub. We can use the road builder to create some, you know, custom public transport roads. But I think I want to use the small bus hub, which I think we got in the detailers patch. I'm going to clear out the roads here at first, and we're also going to get rid of the of all the trees here, just so we know what we're actually working with. So just cleaning this up. And the bus station in question is this one, the small bus station. The default one, the vanilla one, is very nice, but it's also really chunky. So, you know, we will probably have to use one of these really valuable lots instead. And I really do want some nice high density here. So I don't want the bus hub here to take up too much space, despite being the busiest one. This small bus hub here allows for 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 individual lines. Not really sure, but I think we're gonna need at least 2, maybe 3 of these. Now the thing with these is that if you can see on the top of the screen there, we have like a pedestrianized area, you know, with some signs, some benches, a few bushes and whatnot. So my idea is that we can grab this one and then I'll try and kind of splice it into the train station. Actually, if I move back here, then the benches aren't too crazy. The reason that there's some wonky elevation here is because these greenhouses that I've attached to the station are slightly raised to allow for the trains to enter and I mean people to leave as well. But that also means that they kind of raise the ground a little and you can kind of see how it's a bit iffy here. But I think if we can place it in a way where the benches are relatively okay looking, then we can always remove these planters here with the Better Bulldozer mod. And maybe I can create some custom stairs as well. But I'm getting way ahead of myself. The first thing I need to do is just actually getting these placed. So I am going to try this and I'm going to clip these into the train station in a way where the benches look as normal as possible. So let's get one going there. Then I'm gonna move right next to that one and place one more, and we will place a third one as well. Yoink. And something that's really nice and honestly a little unintentional is how the glass panels on the bus hub roofing matches the glass panels of the greenhouse roofing we added to the station. So yeah, I think this looks pretty good. But before I continue, I kind of want to create this additional step here. I know this is a little much in terms of detailing, but I'm pretty certain that if we grab one of these pillars here, just trying to find the right look, subway horizontal pillar. Let's see, train horizontal pillar. I probably want something like this. I'm just gonna place it freely, and then I wonder if it's a prop, right? I think it is. Then I need to see if I can align it perfectly with the bus up here, because that should also align it perfectly up here, and I'm a little afraid of it being maybe hard to continue selecting it up here. Yeah, you saw that? I have to get this right in the first go. Yeah, so I have to move it back, get the alignment correct, then I have to get it perfectly aligned where I want it to, and I kind of want it here, I guess, and then I can lower it. Oh, that actually, it functions as a building, not as a prop. So that's not gonna work. I'm gonna have to find something else. Okay, so I just went through like 1,000 props, which I didn't want to bore you guys with, and I think I have an okay solution now. So I've grabbed the roofing here and just moved that a bit further back. It's actually a little more centered now, which also looks better. That made the wonky terraforming here a little less wonky, and it allowed me to create a straight line of these. Oh, this is like a skate prop. I don't remember the exact name. And then I just lowered them slightly and used recolor to color them all in like the same color scheme. And I think that's good enough for now. We shouldn't spend too much time detailing this. I just want to connect up with an invisible pedestrian path to the path we have on the staircase here, because that is going to allow for a direct connection to the actual platforms here, so that you should be able to jump straight from the commuter train and to a bus and the other way around. Let's get a road attached to the new bus up here, and I think I want to use an alley. But I think I have a wide alley that I created a while back, and I kind of want to try that one. So I'm just gonna, I can't really snap correctly though to the actual hubs, but I can get pretty close, and then I can just move in to upgrade without Anarchy on, and just kind of bring that very, very close. Something like that. It's just to give a bit more space to the buses to enter and leave the hub. We'll grab the symbol curve here and connect it up. Oh, I need a good 180 degrees. There you go. Get that connection going. And potentially get a slight curve here as well. Just want to make it as easy as possible for the bus drivers to handle any turns they would need to make here. And to make it a little easier, this also includes just widening this intersection a little bit. So I'm into manipulation mode with move it, and I'm just gonna drag these out a bit, get a bit more space here. Let's see, something like this, just to make it much easier for the bus drivers to actually enter and exit the bus hub without any worries. We are hitting play just to ensure that there's power and water, and there is, which is really nice. And then I know I don't want to do too much detailing just yet, but we might as well just do a tiny bit of surface work here. I'm just gonna quickly expand some of the existing surfaces here, because I think that's gonna provide a more uniform look. Now, we're not going to do any actual detailing of this bus up, because now that I have like the overall design in place, I would rather just get some actual bus lines established so we can kind of see how that works out and get some ideas for some different lines and whatnot. And I think the first line we're going to do is a connection between downtown Fort John, Chowder Bay, and potentially Queens Cape. And then I guess you could grab another bus from Chowder Bay to any other area in Easthaven, or potentially even do the same. You could probably actually do that in Fort John, but I think this is a line that's a good way to just kind of start off with. So I definitely need a small hub over here in Chowder Bay. I'm not going to stress about getting this all detailed up. We can redo this later, and I'm not gonna try do several high detail bus ups in this episode, because we won't get any lines done then. But we've got a bit of open park space right next to the Chowder Bay train station, which is pretty fortunate. That makes it relatively easy for us to at least use this space for a bus hub. I kind of just want to add this one, to be perfectly honest. I'm just gonna let's try and add it like that. And then I can't really flip it. I don't really have the space. So maybe we'll just have the one, and then to maybe make it just a tiny bit more interesting, I could like use a different surface and pretty much call it a day. Yeah, I think we're just gonna reconnect the paths we had here that I messed up, like this. And then I'll just use like a different surface. We'll use some kind of regular brick here. Maybe just do something like this. That looks fine. I think that's okay. We might even remove these planes as well and do kind of our own thing. But I think that's pretty much gonna be it. I just need a place for the Chowder Bay buses, at least as long as the network isn't too big, to actually have a downtown hub that they can use, and I want it close to the train station, just like in Fort John. And I think we're ready to start mapping out the line now, because we're gonna wait a bit with West Point. It's a little more tricky, since we do have, of course, a dedicated train station, but it's a fully custom station we built. So I don't see it, I don't think it's as feasible to just drop in this small bus hub from the detailers patch. We'd probably do something a little more custom over here. Anyways, I just want to assess how we're looking at in Queens Cape, because I've used a ton of custom roads with the road builder mod, and some of them might not be as suitable for having like bus stops, but I guess I don't really need like dedicated lanes for the buses out here. The traffic is not too bad. So I think what we're gonna do is, I can't attach the shelter here to this alley here, but I can definitely add like a completely basic bus, North American bus stop sign, and we're gonna do it on this little alleyway just right next to the college. So it's very much dedicated to bringing people to the college, but it probably needs to be able to just pick up a few people here in Queen's Cape as well. So I kind of want a stop in here at the very center. And I think we'll just do either side of this road here. Which means I am... Am I gonna upgrade this to a regular road? No. I just want it to be maybe a wide alleyway instead. Remove the parking, just like that. Then we'll get a stop on either side of the road here. So this is the end stop, so we'll just have the one. And then potentially another stop and probably somewhere around here, I guess. And can I upgrade this segment, just this segment? I can, so we're gonna do that. We're gonna add a stop on either side. We can move these a bit. Then I wonder if I should add some kind of like a median in the center here and how that would actually look. So if I remove the empty lane, I add in the median, I make it wider. How is that gonna look? It's gonna look pretty interesting. I can add in some grass, or I can upgrade it with grass. We're just gonna call this very wide alley. Yeah. And then let's just see if this is upgradable actually. No, okay. I'm not really sure what the grass option I actually added then. I mean, what does that do? All right. Nonetheless, I guess this is an ample opportunity to just get in a few trees then. Since we do actually have a nice looking median now, we'll just get some evenly spaced out trees. And I think that's okay. It's a quick little thing that just adds a little more variety. Anyways, let's see. So we've got 5 stops with the final stop here, and we can always expand this line as we add in some nice looking stuff on these peninsulas. And since we haven't really developed this area next to the I-25 interstate, I'm not really gonna bother with a stop there yet. It's very, very easy and quick to change and correct your lines later on. So that's not really something I'm afraid of doing. But I think we need like at least one stop here in base end before we reach the main hub here. So let's just we'll add a stop. Let's see, we'll just add a stop here, and we'll add one here, I think. And I think that's pretty much it for our connection through Coleridge out to Queen's Cape at least. Now, the easiest way to continue to Chowder Bay would just be to add an additional stop here along Queen's Passage, as we've called this main avenue, because that would allow for very easy access onto the I-25, and you know, then you're in the heart of Chowder Bay in like 5 minutes. I think the issue is that if I place the stop here, then I'm gonna bypass much of Windsor, and it's not like people won't walk to get to the bus, but I think it would be more fitting if I had like the stops in here. I don't remember what this street is called, but it's very central. And it cuts right through Windsor, and quite a, you know, it services Battery Hill a little better as well. So I think I'm gonna opt for that. So can I get, let's see, I'll add a stop. I hope there is space enough for the buses here, but I'll add a stop here and here. And then I think that there's gonna be an issue with the distance traveled to actually get onto the I-25. But we're gonna see. I'm gonna check that when I actually map out this line. We're moving over to Narrowwood, the first suburb of Chowder Bay we enter after crossing this open bay here, and we probably need a couple of stops here. So we already have this covered, and I think we're just gonna go straight through downtown Chowder Bay, like straight through the heart of the city. So I'll just add stops in here actually, like very centrally, and then maybe I'll add stop on either side here. Yes, and then we'll have a single additional stop here on the outskirts of Narrowwood right as you reach this area, I think. like that. I may move in and try and create like an additional node. So these stops, can I do that right now actually? If I grab this road and I double click, that actually worked. So what I did there was I added an additional node here so that the quote-unquote slip lanes for the buses is a little smaller, a little more manageable. Could probably make it even smaller, but I think that's fine. But I think this is actually it, and we can start map out this line now, which is of course maybe gonna highlight the issue I spoke about in just before, but we'll see how bad it is. I think we're just gonna start at the downtown hub. We're gonna move our way out here. We're gonna hit the college, move back through the more builder. Oh wait, I actually missed. We've got to stop here as well, and then we're moving through Queen's Cape. What? I'm gonna add a waypoint here to correct that because that doesn't look right. Anyways, we've got to stop here as well, and I guess we need to have a stop in here, you know, to go in like the opposite direction. This is, are there only two here, or can I can't select the central one for whatever reason, so I'm just gonna grab this one. So this first line may be a little odd. We're just trying things out, I feel. Then we're gonna service Windsor, and now is the moment of truth. How do we actually, yeah, that doesn't look right. So I'm going to have to change the configuration here in just a sec. But for now, I think we're just gonna quickly complete the line and see if there are any more issues I haven't thought of. I don't think so. And for some reason, I can't make my pathfinding way down here. That's odd. Anyways, we'll grab whatever we can then, and we'll just move back. And these stops are fairly easy in cookie cutter. Let's see how, yeah, we can utilize the quickest route here and complete the route. Okay, so that's quite sizable, and it does come with a few issues. So here I'm not really sure what's happening, but we're gonna add a little waypoint just to ensure that that works out. And then I'm hopeful that I can do something here. So let's just see if we move in and we grab these this one lane road. We connect about here, disable snapping, go for like a 90-degree angle. And then if I try to connect, remove this, we're gonna disallow left turns obviously. And then if I can add like a, can't really add just a stop here, but it actually has, you know, a yield sign, so I guess that's pretty good. Should function at least. It does look a little funky here, so I may just try and use manipulation. There you go. Just had to do a little bit of tweaking, and that's often what it takes. I think that's pretty good. So let's see, did it? Yeah, it automatically changed the routing, which I think is pretty good, although I preferred actually just move alongside the main street here instead of moving into these smaller alleyways. And I think that's about it. Now, I'm using a mod that allows me to assign just one vehicle, and I don't remember the name of it. I'm very sorry, but if you search for Transport Manager, maybe it's gonna pop up. But the reason I use it is that I'm hopeful that if I do just assign one vehicle, we can kind of follow that bus alongside the line, and then as it has passed a few stops, we can add in one additional vehicle. And as that one has passed a few stops, we can, you know, add one more, maybe up to 6, 7 buses, something of that, something in that range. And the reason I want to attempt to do that at least is that otherwise the, you know, vanilla game is just going to spawn 10 buses, and for the longest time they're just gonna be completely clumped up in like one queuey mass, and it's annoying, and it's beyond my understanding why they wouldn't allow some kind of deep bouncing system or whatever you call it, but this is my attempt at trying to do the same. But it's gonna take a little while, so I'm just gonna have to kind of speed up the simulation and then wait for this bus to actually kind of creep along a few stops before I add in additional vehicles. Alright, so I think I've been sitting here for about 15 minutes now and just slowly increasing the amount of assigned vehicles, and line usage is still really high. It kind of dips with, 10 or 15% each time I add a new vehicle, but then it kind of creeps up and most of the current buses are actually full. So I think I'm just gonna wait a few more minutes and see if we need to make the jump to 8 or even 9 assigned vehicles. This does take a little longer, but I think that the vehicles are much better spread out across the line now, so it's definitely worth it. Alright, so I'm going to assign the 10th vehicle to this line, which is probably not even enough given its popularity, but it's gonna be sufficient for now. I don't want all the buses on this single line. And I do have a bit of a traffic hiccup here, so I'm probably seeing some heavy traffic around this area I might need to fix. And additionally, I even dropped the ticket price a little bit because we have just been scooping in the money while we've been waiting for this bus line to populate, which is really nice. But I'm not going to work anymore on this line for now. I am just going to jump to one of these buses and see what's... Whoa, okay, so yeah, this traffic is terrible. It's not usually this bad. And I mean, it's late in the evening, even though the weather doesn't really reflect it. Alright, if I'm to try and do like a little fixer, it seems that it's mainly because a lot of cars, for whatever reason, wants to turn right here and enter these southern suburbs of Chowder Bay. So adding this 3+2 async configuration might just help a little at least. So yeah, let's just get that placed there. It's really a band-aid and not an actual fix, but it should free up one additional lane for all the traffic that is just trying to make its way through Narrowwood and into downtown. And I guess we could do a little upgrade to this road as well. Just make sure we have a 2+1 configuration that gives us an extra lane throughout the roundabout. Yeah, I mean, every little thing counts, I guess, in trying to increase traffic capacity here, but it's a bit of a tight fit with everything, so it's not gonna be perfect, but I'm definitely seeing a better flow now. And I don't see any buses either, so looks like they actually made their way through. Anyways, if we are to add a few more buses, I kinda want an express line connecting Chowder Bay directly to downtown Fort John. I don't know how much usage this line will see, but I just kind of want to add it just for the fun of it, because I also want to use this luxury bus, as it's called. Kind of want to see what that looks like. I think it's like a real coach for like long distance bus travel. So I'm just gonna pause the game here so that I can so that I can control the amount of buses we see on this what's it, express something. I need to name these some proper things, but I think we're just gonna start with 2 buses. We'll reduce the ticket price as well. We have the luxury bus selected. Let's just speed up the simulation and see how this bus actually looks. So we've got the first spawnee. And yeah, it's more like a coach for long distance driving, which I think is pretty perfect for like express lines where you have very few stops. So there's going to be a pretty long time of like uninterrupted driving where you just need to be comfortably seated. But once again, this kind of, oh, they're actually going, what? Oh, they are going to attend to each stop. Okay, so I guess maybe the game does have some kind of system in place, some kind of algorithm in place to try and spread out buses a little bit. It just doesn't always seem to work. But yeah, this is a pretty interesting behavior. This one is going for the Fort John bus hub, and this one is going, where is it? Somewhere around here. It's going straight to Chowder Bay, I think. Oh, what? I say that, but here we are, making our way underneath the Route 28. Whatever. Actually, let's act as detectives and just kind of follow along and see where this guy is actually going. I'll just move us to one of the front seats. We're making our way through Windsor currently, so it's going to be interesting to see if we make a left turn so that we can get onto... Yeah. Okay, so the game doesn't have a smart system. It might even have a dumber system that I initially thought, because these two buses decided on two very different routes for... What? Alright, so this bus is also going for the Fort John bus hub, it seems. It just decided to take a wildly different route that is much longer and more complicated. Yeah. And we have a set of deer or something crossing the street currently, right up ahead. Okay, so I think that's it for the sightseeing. Let's try and get this general area here a little more finished. And that involves filling in some of the empty lots here alongside Queen's Passage that I have yet to complete. Adding a bit of recreational space and a bit of detailing to the transport hub here. Probably some high density developments here on this lot. Maybe a small park and yeah, some detailing. Let's get to it. And I think that's gonna be it, guys. I don't want to go too heavy with the detailing here, but let's take a little tour of what we've developed. So I've got this spontaneous idea to create a pathway through here, and it is actually seeing some use. I don't really know if these people are actually using it to board and off-board trains. I imagine they are, because I think I connected to like the invisible pedestrian paths that are part of the train station. But I did also connect this path to this side of the street as well, although I'm not really seeing a lot of people move in and out of this building. So maybe it is actually train passengers, which would be perfect. But it's so cool to see all this activity here at the transport hub. It's of course going to be interesting to see how well this bus hub is going to hold up when we add many more buses, because we have only created one actual main line as well as one express line here in this episode, which leads me to a question, something I need a bit of help with from you guys, which is going to be the naming. So the naming of our train routes is relatively simple. It's pretty much just the destinations, but I would like to change that eventually, and I think we could start with changing like the bus lines. So what would be a good prefix or suffix to have to our bus lines here in Easthaven County? I need something for like regular commuter bus lines as well as express lines, maybe even nighttime only lines. We could create something like that eventually. But let me hear the thoughts. You guys are always much more knowledgeable and creative on these matters than I am, so looking forward to some input here. Anyways, onwards with the small tour. This is just a quick temporary park just to have a little something here, but I do think I kind of want some of this massive block to be recreational space. So it's, but for now it's just a quick temporary solution. And then we filled in the gaps here along Queen's Passage, and I tried to go for higher density than the alleyways behind, because this is a major avenue, so I think it makes sense, and I'm really liking like the build-up environment here. Went for a smaller, very modern looking office building here, removed all signage, so that we don't have, you know, it kind of cheapens the look. Actually, this is not an office building, it's commercial. Oh well, that's okay, we have the most demand for commercial, but I removed all the signs because it looks like an office then. Like a very modern development developed as part of the rejuvenation of the train station area. And the same can be said for these two high-density housing units. Now, the thing I like about these is that they could maybe also go for offices, because they have like a sterile, almost clinical look. But they are high-density houses, and I mean, there's a bit of noise from the trains, but otherwise, you're pretty well connected if you live here, right? But I think that's gonna be enough rambling for one episode. Your brain probably needs a break by now. I know mine does, at least. And we're of course not done at all with the Easthaven County bus network or public transportation in general. This is very much just a start, but we do have some of the major milestones in place. A high details bus depot. Actually, wait a minute. We need to have some bus props added to this, right? We definitely need that. I mean, we've got a dedicated parking lot here even. Do they back in? No, I think they just go head first. Head first. I'm not sure it's called that. But we'll add a bunch of buses here. That's like a very easy, quick way to detail. And let's just pause the game and find a bus so that I can copy paste the color scheme here to our props down here. Let's see. Yes, much better. Small but important detailing, of course. But that's gonna be it. Like I said, we're not done with the bus network or the public transportation. Maybe we even need a tram network here, just for complexity's sake. But thank you guys so much for watching, all the support, all the feedback. We are gonna wrap up with some final cinematics as per usual, and I hope to see you on the next one. Goodbye.